Okay, Conjuring Last Rites. This is not the last Conjuring movie, because they are going to make a prequel, but this is the last one for Barrera Fargra. Hope I'm saying that right. And Patrick Wilson. Man, the thing about where you started in 2010, and now we're all here in 2050. It might have been, yeah, it was 2010 or 2013 that the first Conjuring came out. Now we're here at Last Rites. And Conjuring was like, I feel like that really kicked off the like, I feel like Conjuring and those first, like, Conjuring and Insidious was like where you could like really say that modern horror was starting to pick up. And everything from those, like everything James Wan and Blumhouse did from those couple movies going up throughout the decade is like where you can really see where modern horror started to get its like its stamp of authenticity, authenticity. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like The Conjuring really is a big deal, and this being like the last movie for the two bases of this franchise, like it's a really big deal, you know? And it's like, man, like these movies to me are still like, when I think of a horror movie, I think of this stuff. When people call things like Weapons and Sinners horror movies, and I gotta put them up against something like The Conjuring Last Rites, like even if I think Sinners and Weapons have a stronger message than The Last Rites, are well made, like all around better movies than The Last Rites, I still look at Last Rites as a better horror movie than I do Weapons and Sinners. Like when you ask me what's the best horror movie of the year, I'm probably going to say The Last Rites as of right now, because I think it's more a horror movie than Weapons and Sinners. I look at those as more thrillers, more murder mysteries, like man, like everything from how this movie's made, like you can really see it. Like this is a Conjuring movie. Like they spend a lot of money on this movie. First of all, I think they spent like 50 or 80 something. They spent a lot of fucking money on this movie. They already made it back. They made it back and more. It's one of the highest grossing horror movies of the last decade. But I just think like from the forefront, from the way that the movie is lit, from the way that the score rises and falls from the silent moments into the jump scares. This is a horror movie. And when people talk about horror movies, this is what I think of. And not to knock Weapons and Sinners, but they do not have this type of vibe about them. And yeah, is the story a little fucking ridiculous, as is all the shit that those real people went through. It's ridiculous. Like they were like, whatever you think of Ed and Lorraine Warren, what James Wan has been able to do with their stories and what he's been able to make out of it is something that's going to immortalize them for better and for worse, but it's going to immortalize them. And I think that's why we got to, like, if you really don't agree with how they live their lives, but you really do like this franchise, then give all more love to Patrick Wilson and Ferreira for what they were able to do with this story and what they've been able to do over the last 15 years. You know what I mean? So that's all I wanted to come on here to say is this, that like when I think of like Conjuring Last Rites, to me is a good damn horror movie, and it's what sets it apart from movies like Sinners and Weapons. So I feel like a lot of movies are getting this horror stamp of approval so they don't have to stack them up against other movies when it's come time for awards. They can put them in the same boat as things like Conjuring, so they don't ever have to stack them up against anything else because they're scared to do it. You know what I mean? They're scared to say Sinners is more of a thriller, gothic horror than it is a traditional horror movie like The Conjuring maybe, because then they would have to stack it up against other things that might not make a lot of money, other things that might not get a lot of recognition other than from their peers when it comes time for Oscars. And when they have to do that, when you have a movie like Sinners that was beloved and made over $300 million, you got to stack it up against a movie that made like $20-30 million that only people in the industry praise, it becomes a bit difficult to say, you know, that's overall a better movie than the movie that actually made $300 million. You know what I mean? Like they want to put movies like Sinners and Weapons in such categories so they never have to compare them to anything else. You know what I mean? So yeah, Conjuring the Last Rites, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. The story was a bit ridiculous, but it's still a good damn horror movie. So yeah, Conjuring Last Rites, 7.5 out of 10.